Our next inductee, and if you'll just hang in there, hang right there at the table, we'll bring him up here to anchor us away because he is able seaman J. Malcolm Whitney. I'm going to sometimes stray a little bit from the written program on this because, and I will probably get in emotional trouble if I do, but I'll do it anyway. After graduating from Watertown High School in 1942, Mal entered the United States Navy and served aboard the destroyer of the USS Hilbert. Found himself in Tokyo Bay for the Japanese surrender in 1945, and was among the first group of American servicemen to set foot in Tokyo. Returning to Watertown after the war, Mal went into the insurance business. He's always looking for ways to contribute, and in 1952, he became president of the Watertown Boosters Club. And he soon got involved in state politics. In 1953, he became chief administrative aide to State Senator Richard Furbush and state chair of the Massachusetts Council on Young Republican Clubs. But he always came back to Watertown for his major participating in the American Legion, the Elks, the Kiwanis. In 1983, he was elected president of the new Watertown Town Council. Wouldn't seem to leave enough for free time, but he, along with others like Gigi Caporiccio, and you almost couldn't find two people more poles apart, 180 degrees apart, both formed a love for helping young kids, setting up the Watertown Little League, set up Babe Ruth League. That picture of that young guy back when he could walk there in the American Legion team. I played American Legion baseball because Mal Whitney started the program. He was appointed by the Board of Selectmen to chair an advisory committee that led to the creation of the Watertown Recreation Department, and he served as the department's first chairman. He worked to petition the town meeting to allow the Boys and Girls Club to be built adjacent to Salt Star Park and help raise $1.5 million for the construction. And people who were not around then and see the Boys and Girls Club don't recognize how much effort that was, that there was in fact opposition, that it was difficult, that he and my coach Vic Palladino and Larry Caruso did an extraordinary job to get that Boys and Girls Club built. In the mid-1960s, he served as president of the Boys and Girls Club and promoted the golf and tennis tournaments under the leadership of Walter Munger and Paul Shakespeare. They named the Wall School playing field in 2002 in Mal's honor. What sort of goes unspoken here is a number of activities and sports and clubs and groups and one thing after another. That when there was money that needed to be raised, when there were ads that needed to be bought, when things needed to be done to help this organization or that organization, when a sports league or sports team was in trouble, the first name in the phone book that you called was Mal Whitney. For years, Mal Whitney was synonymous with everything that's good about service in Watertown. Proud. Probably 13 years after we should have honored the tonight honor for service to our community, J. Malcolm Whitney.
Well, you can see me, but I can't see anybody out there, so I hope anybody doesn't leave before my 10 minutes is up. First I have to thank the organization for honoring me, and I appreciate it very, very much. But for all the things that I've done, there's so many others that deserve the recognition equally as much as I. And I have to start out with the ones that suffered the most. My wife Edie, who's sitting over there, and I can't see because of the light. My son Curtis, my daughter Heather, and my daughter Holly all of which suffered through the fact that I was late for dinner more often than not. As we go back 52 years, it seems incredible that it's 52 years ago that we had that first Watertown Little League game up at the Lowell Playground. And I remember, and I've got pictures of the kids hanging on to the fire engine and packed into Frank Manzelli's state truck as we paraded down Mount Auburn Street from East Watertown to the Lowell Playground for the first game. But Bobby has mentioned a few of the people that deserve credit equally as much as I. And if I can see the paper here, I'll mention their names. The Little League program would never have gotten off the ground if it wasn't for people like Joe DeWire, Gigi Capariccio, Donald Fournier, Billy Betancourt, Al White, Johnny Mantudo, people who really helped and made it work. It wouldn't have worked without them. Phil Payne, Bill McElhenney, Austin Avery. There's so many people that made it work that first year. After the first year, we found a very unhappy lot of 13-year-old boys that had no place to go and nothing to do. So we started the Babe Ruth League for kids 13 to 16. And that was with the extreme help of guys like Hod McGuire, Guy Clark, Tilly Manzelli, names that probably many of you here know that are most aren't with us anymore, but without their help, it wouldn't have happened. The same is true with Legion Baseball. When the boys reached their 15th birthday and they were no longer eligible for Babe Ruth League, it became necessary to find a program to keep them playing ball. We established the American Legion Junior Baseball program. And that wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for guys like George Walker, Joe DeWire, Johnny Mantudo, Jimmy Wallace, who was our scout, who coached high school baseball at the time, and when he found a good ball player over at Buckingham, Brown and Nichols, or at St. Pat's, or at St. Mary's, or some of the other schools in the area, he would tell Joe and I, and we'd go over and watch. Joe would decide if he could fit him into the game. So that so many people have done so much to make the thing possible. And the same is true with our recreation department. The recreation department would never have gotten off the ground if it wasn't for understanding and willing to compromise of people like Kathleen Brown, Vera Rizzo, Wayne Eaton, and several others. The Boys Club. Boys Club was a challenge and a dream of Larry Caruso's and Ray Dupre's. So many people worked. He's mentioned Vic Palladino, Eddie Safarian, and several others that made it possible to encourage us to keep on going. And I can remember the days where we'd be sitting down in my backyard or something and worrying about where in the world are we going to get a $1.5 million, even if we get it past the town meeting. But we did, and people like Steve Dugar, Malcolm Hecht, Charlie Burke, and several others, Hank Brazzora, that really came through when we needed them most, and people said, you're not going to build a private club on hallowed Saltonstall Park. But we did, and it became a great institution. The Recreation Commission has been a great success, in my opinion, in town, starting with our first recreation director, those that remember him, that he did such a wonderful job, Larry Fortier. And then after Larry, we've had several, and Tommy Sullivan that's running it now is doing a wonderful job. And if I got a few minutes, and if I can read, see to read, I want to read a passage that was written way back when by a fellow by the name of Grantland Rice, who was a noted sports writer. It refers really to American Legion baseball, but it really is true to everything. Basketball, football, hockey, girls hockey, everything. They're all the same. It's not just Legion baseball. And this is what he said and what he wrote. We all tend to think of American Legion junior baseball contest as just another demonstration of a fine old sport by a bunch of nice kids. Yet every game means so much more. There has never been a good athletic contest in history that did not leave its subtle mark on the participants. Out of the game you are watching, or soon will see, will emerge boys who are a little better Americans for having been put to the test of tough competition, the fire of battle, the problem of coping spiritually with triumph, disaster, hopes fulfilled and unfulfilled, pain, joy, and the task of learning to work as a team and fend for teammates. These lessons, learned the hard way, may not change a lad's character or personality overnight. But what we usually overlook is that these things can't scrub off a boy in the course of the after-game shower bath. They become a part of the growing man. And the man, mature in time and head of a family, finds himself instructing his own son in some lesson learned years before, and perhaps without his conscious knowledge. There lies the true gold of a sports program such as the American Legion's baseball competition. All the money in the United States Mint could not purchase it. It is a priceless commodity because it builds good Americans, and neither this country nor the free world can survive without their glorious species. Thank you very, very much.
Thanks very much, Mel. What a Hall of Fame of Watertown volunteers and supporters read off by Mel Whitney in his description of